Howdy friends, we'll get started here in just a moment, waiting for people to file on in. Got a lot less of you out there today, no one in the chat room. Someone say something. Good afternoon, there we go. We got our first baby duck today. We got a little baby duck, single guy in the pond with mom and dad. I don't really like how dad treats the baby ducks. He shoos them away from food. Doesn't really seem productive for the species. But I guess as long as he keeps hawks away, he serves his purpose. It is 420, I forgot. Happy 420. 15 years ago, I said this earlier in our MJ stock room, but 15 years ago, I was out parked in front of my buddy's house at 4:20 a.m. on a school day. That's commitment. All right. Let's get going. Make my face smaller. So, first things first, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and correlation. So as the thumbnail of this video talks about, we have Bitcoin reacting to Netflix earnings. Again, we're in an environment right now where things are shifting around. It won't always be like this, but we have to accept for what it is. You can have the opinion, this doesn't make sense. Bitcoin should not be correlating to the tech sector. Bitcoin should not be correlating to stocks. And that's a fine opinion to have, but you also have to accept that it is. Because there's people out there right now who are so ingrained in that position that it should not be correlated, that they are putting their blinders on and not seeing the countless examples and clear information that yes, we are definitely correlated to the NASDAQ right now. Again, that will change. But we're in an environment where the more institutional money, the more automated trading systems, that is going to continue to strengthen. And in my opinion, we need some kind of major catalyst if we're going to see those correlations significantly shift. So we have to accept it for what it is. So just as an example, Bitcoin on the 30-minute time frame, let's do this and let's compare three things here. So here's Bitcoin on the 30-minute time frame today with that drop. Let me just set this up real quick and then we'll look at it all. We're going to look at Bitcoin versus SPY versus QQQ. And again, just going to talk a little bit about the broader market so we're all on the same page as to what we're watching here. But right now we've got Bitcoin with the drop and the bounce attempt. SPY is sideways in a 30-minute equilibrium up at the highs. And here is the NASDAQ with the drop and the bounce attempt. So very clearly, we are much more like the second or the third chart here than the second chart. So we are correlated to the NASDAQ. What's the difference? What's the difference between SPY and the NASDAQ? The NASDAQ holdings are vast majority tech sector. There's some other things mixed in, but for me, it's just tech sector because 30% of QQQ is Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft. Those three companies make up 30% of the ETF. For SPY, those three companies make up something like 13% of the ETF. SPY has much more weight in the healthcare sector, in the financial sector, and in other places. Energy sector. So we are seeing a more tech sector focus, and that's where the correlation is. And so Netflix had an extremely bearish reaction, and it's kind of shaking the whole tech sector up a little bit today because the drop that Netflix is seeing is not your standard bearish earnings reaction. If you have a bad earnings reaction, you drop 10-15%. That's a big drop. And here is Netflix down 36%. So what that does is it sets a shockwave through the market of, oh, this is serious, And now we have, this is the first tech sector name reporting. So now we got Apple and Google and Amazon and Facebook. They all still have to report. And so everybody's looking at Netflix and saying, oh man, what if this happens with other names as well? What if this earnings season is going to be bearish? That's why QQQ is down significantly today. The other reason is because we rejected right from key resistance right away. We now have a triple top. I am bearish in the NASDAQ as long as this triple top remains. Break it and I'll switch. So again, you may not care about all this stuff, but if you really want to be tuned in to what Bitcoin is doing, then you got to be paying attention to it, or at least pay attention to me, and I'll pay attention to it for you, at least on a bigger picture perspective. And so the NASDAQ has this triple top. This could be a daily bear flag still. We're still rejecting from resistance, and we can see other names. This is Facebook's reaction. This is the market saying, whoa, we've got earnings next week on Facebook, and we just saw what happened to Netflix. So this is pricing in a bearish earnings or some of a bearish earnings reaction. So again, this is a downward pressure on Bitcoin today. And with that, Bitcoin is potentially topping out. So we're going to need a little bit more information because we haven't even confirmed an hourly downtrend yet. We lost the hourly uptrend. If we're going to have conviction that our daily top has been set, we will have to confirm an hourly downtrend. But we know this is coming. And this was our anti-FOMO. The last couple of days, if you're feeling anti-FOMO as a crypto bull, saying, oh man, bear flags confirmed with no follow through and I missed this move, we have to change the daily trend eventually. We're coming off the low. We have to see a daily higher low and higher high eventually if we're going to have confidence in this move having follow through. So patient bulls are patiently waiting to be looking for daily higher low entries. That being said, the next 2 weeks, we have all these other tech sector earnings that I've been talking about, and that's going to be a factor. And then we've got the FOMC 2 weeks from today. That's going to be a factor. So we have broader economic events and tech sector earnings events that are coming up that will impact Bitcoin because of these correlations that we're seeing. So patient bulls are waiting for a daily higher low. We know we have to see a higher low and higher high if we're going to have confidence that our weekly higher low is set in Bitcoin. So we're not positive that the top of the move is being set yet, but with this daily candle, it's certainly shaping up that way. We can look at the 12-hour time frame. We're watching retracement size. We want to know, is this healthy consolidation looking for a daily trend change or not? And with our retracement size here, we're watching, at this point, you could still be looking for a 12-hour higher low holding 382. If we pull back 50% plus retracement, that's when we start to look for an equilibrium. But at this point, I'm on the hourly. And if we drop to a lower low from here, then I'll be on the 12-hour, looking for a 12-hour higher low. So bulls have to prove a daily trend change back in their favor for confidence in weekly higher lows. And that statement that I just said, that sentence, is going to be the same for a ton of altcoins. So altcoins have had a nice 3-day bounce, same as Bitcoin, most of them. Daily trend change is needed. We're watching some names like Sand for a monthly higher low. We're watching some names like Sol for a weekly higher low. Some names have already given us weekly higher lows like Luna. But daily trend changes back to bulls are needed if we are going to set convincing weekly higher lows. Dominance chart on Bitcoin is trying to shape up a weekly higher low as well. And keeping a close eye, the levels that matter most to me are 39 and 44. And watching as we continue to tighten up. What we had happen recently, if we look at this bounce on the daily, the way this played out is Bitcoin led the bounce for a couple days. And then we saw the altcoins follow along. That's what this red candle is from yesterday's daily candle. That is altcoins playing some catch up on their bounces to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin gets the bull move and the confidence, that confidence and those profits or whatever seep out, whether it's profits or just confidence, it seeps out into the alt space. The alts get their leg up. And now we have a green candle today showing us that this pullback that is currently being seen by Bitcoin on the hourly, the alts are dropping faster. So if Bitcoin's going down and the dominance chart is going up on the hourly at the same time, that shows us alts are dropping faster than Bitcoin. So a little bit of a shuffle going on. Overall, not a ton of clear information regarding the dominance, but I'm just watching this weekly range, anticipating it's going to tighten further into the middle of the year, and then waiting for a break for the first time in a year. This is a year-long tightening range, and it will break this year. Ethereum. And the price action, just one more note, price action has been tricky because, well, I guess the only tricky thing here has been the bear break with no follow through. Stock market world has been a bit more tricky than that. We had a little short-term bull break in SPY, then a bear break. Maybe we're forming a megaphone. Whenever things get tricky, I scout megaphones because that's usually what's going on. We'll see. Anyways, back to crypto, altcoin time. So Ethereum is weaker than Bitcoin, but it's the same thing. We need the daily trend change. We need to see a daily higher low and higher high if we're going to have confidence that this weekly higher low is now set. We can be on the 12-hour if we want a bit more details. The consolidation has already started. The hourly is doing the same thing as Bitcoin. Are we about to confirm an hourly bear flag? So I personally don't have much interest in oversold conditions, playing bounces in the short term. A real aggressive bull scouting a daily higher low is going to look for hourly oversold conditions and perhaps using my trading style. Let's just go over this example. Let's say I'm scouting a Bitcoin 12-hour higher low on this pullback and we get to hourly oversold conditions. We're not going to get there without another leg down, but let's just say we drop down towards the mid 40,000 level. The hourly RSI gets oversold. So the way that my style is with a swing trade, I play the hourly oversold bounce. Ideally, I scale into maybe 1 or 2 positions. Ideally, hourly, 15-minute, 5-minute are all oversold at the same time so that when we get some of those short-term bounces, I can exit a half position, put my stop under the low, and I will either nail the 12-hour high or low or stop out. Now, sometimes that trading style is not ideal. And the example for me is Ethereum, I stopped out. I did the same thing. If I had given more wiggle room, I'd still be in an Ethereum position and it would be profitable. Instead, I stopped out for a small loss because that's what I did here. I played the bounce, stop under 29.50, and they shook me out. But I'm just patiently watching now because I know that a daily trend change is needed if we're going to see proof. This is the bulls having to prove it now. All right, great bounce. We're paying attention. You got to prove it. But Ethereum is weaker and ETH BTC is fading back down towards these levels. And if these daily support levels break, weekly consolidation is then underway on the ETH BTC chart. We will anticipate a weekly higher low as the most likely scenario, but that just makes me a little bit less inclined to play Ethereum if we break these daily supports. I'm not going to give up on Ethereum because, again, I will be scouting a weekly higher low, but it will just have me keeping an eye out, focusing on perhaps other altcoins that are showing us a bit more relative strength. If we hold daily support and continue tightening up with this range, within this range, we won't have much information until we get a clear break one way or the other. So keeping an eye on that. Luna has been really strong. So Luna entered the spotlight again. And the spotlight is when the US dollar pairing and the BTC pairing are doing the same thing. One thing I like to often do, I can just picture it in my head when I look one chart to the other. But like I just did with the Bitcoin and SPY charts, use these split screens and pull up these pairings and just put them right next to each other. And it's a little bit easier. Sweetie Pants is in the house. It's a little bit easier to observe. And I can just look at this on the hourly and say, okay, we've got an hourly EMA 12 support grinding up. On the USD pairing, it's been lost. The BTC pairing right now is showing us a bit of relative strength against the US dollar pairing, which is exactly what a bull wants to see. If we start to see the BTC pairing showing us more weakness than the US dollar pairing, that's a glaring red flag. We can look at it on the 4-hour. So we can see 4-hour inside bar on the BTC pairing, whereas on the USDT pairing, we just had a stair-step pattern. Again, we got a YouTube video on stair-step patterns. If you don't know what that is, high or low every single candle broke has not happened yet on the BTC pairing. So there's two things, you know, depending on whose glasses I'm wearing. If I'm wearing the bear glasses and if I'm in a bear trade here, I'm making note, okay, this is not ideal. Maybe it's not enough to make me exit the trade, but I'm making note this is not the ideal scenario for a bear. I need to see more weakness in the BTC pairing if I'm going to be confident as a bear. And if I'm a bull, I'm looking at it from the opposite perspective. But just like Bitcoin, it'll be the same thing in the sense that once we top out on this move, we made a lot more progress than many coins because of the size of this move, but a daily trend change is still needed. So we will still have to set the higher low and higher high. The difference is we have a lot more space for that daily higher low to form in terms of percent. Lost you there for a second. I think we're back. Just a quick little blip. So I was saying Luna has a lot more space to work with. Luna could pull back 10% and still have a lot of space for a higher low. And obviously if Bitcoin pulls back 10%, we're dropping to a lower low at that point. So Luna bulls, we can also use that to determine probabilities. We can say that Luna has a much more significant higher probability to form a daily higher low than a ton of other altcoins. And we'll constantly be observing whether that Luna BTC pairing continues to be beneficial for bulls or not. Another name that's recently stood out is Sand. But again, it's your anti-FOMO, a big 3-day move, absolutely. And fast, attentive traders getting some nice opportunity there because that's a 20% bull move. But we are topping out and we have not changed the daily trend bullish. I just got to stop here. Brady. So Brady says he wished he understood what I was saying. So again, this is year 11 for me, and anybody that's not on year 11 is not at the same level, understandably so. But we've got 7 years and 7,000, 8,000 YouTube videos. We've got a free intro to technical analysis course. So if you want to understand, go through the information that we already have out there and continue to watch the videos. It's learning a different language. Right now I'm speaking a different language, and the more you expose yourself to that language, the more you're going to understand. Usually about month 4, 5, 6, people say, wow, it's all finally starting to click. So put in the time on your own, watching the videos we have already made with all these concepts, and then these daily updates, you're then speaking the same language as me. But it takes time. So Sand, looking toppy, that's a big bear candle. Hourly, showing weakness. If we bounce from here, we'll be looking for a 4-hour head and shoulders type setup. So bulls, again, bigger picture, we're scouting a monthly higher low. We're grinding monthly EMA 12, and we're scouting the monthly higher low on both Sand USD and Sand BTC. But we're not anywhere near forming those yet. So your anti-FOMO on the bounce the last few days is knowing, okay, well, if we're looking for a monthly higher low and we haven't even changed the daily trend bull yet, there's no rush. I'm watching these falling wedges on both pairings. And these are going to be the charts. I'm going to drop that down a bit. These are the charts for Sand and Mana. Mana's chart is not as clear as Sand for me with this kind of setup. So I'm just using Sand as my guide. And I know if Sand's going to break bull, then Mana will break bull as well. Likely break bull. So we are just rejected from our downtrend resistance, but we're getting tight here. We're going to either see a clear bull break or a clear bear break within the next week or so. So put these Metaverse names back on watch, both Sand and Mana. The move the last 3 days was getting attention, just getting our attention. Okay, spike. We saw the BTC pairing doing the same thing. Now it's in the same falling wedge type pattern. We're not holding on to those moves significantly. So for me, this is a not yet, but definitely pay attention. So falling wedges on both pairings. And again, if I'm trying to determine between Sand or Mana, I can look at Sand divided by Mana to know who is stronger, who is weaker. And this chart is showing me Sand is the place to be. Sand has been stronger than Mana for a significant amount of time. Just want to ensure I'm looking at the right charts here. So yeah, this is Mana compared to Sand. We're dropping. So Sand has been stronger than Mana since March 1st. So that's almost 2 months now. And we'll see if that remains the case. But it's certainly over this last 3-day bull move, sand was leading, mana was following along. Sol. So Sol is also getting our attention. We're looking for a weekly high or low. Again, that's the case for so many individual altcoins. What do we need for a weekly high or low to be shaping up? We need a daily trend change back to the bulls. So we're topping out. 4-hour bull flag confirmed with 0 follow through. Did the BTC pairing confirm? No. Look at this clue. This is a clue to utilize with the pairings. If you see the US pairing doing something, confirming a bull flag in this instance, and the BTC pairing does not confirm a bull flag as well, that is your red flag. That is your red flag that this move may not have follow through, because if it was going to be as strong as the bulls want it to be, it would be breaking bullish as well. Ideally, it would be leading. Sol BTC would break first, and then the US dollar pairing breaks second. In this instance, we rejected from resistance, so you look at Sol, and Sol bull broke with 0 follow through, gave it all back. And I've been playing around with these pairings in the stock world recently, and there was a perfect example on the 15-minute time frame, this same thing. The stock itself confirmed a 15-minute bull flag, but the stock compared to its ETF rejected from the 15-minute bull flag, and it had 0 follow through. It's the same thing, but this is on the 4-hour time frame. Clues in the BTC pairings. It's just such an eye-opener once you really hone in on how significant these pairings are. And we're going to be putting out a bunch more content on this topic because it is a bit difficult to wrap your head around. And after playing around with it for the past 2 years, I'm definitely sold as far as this is very valuable information once you grasp this concept. So in both the stock world and the crypto world, we're going to be talking about correlations and these ratio charts a lot more. So we're scouting a daily high or low on Sol USD and Sol BTC, needing to confirm the trend change if we are going to see a weekly high or low set. I was watching the Sol BTC falling wedge. We'll see if we back test. Previous resistance, now support. But the daily trend change is needed for everybody. So many stocks, so many crypto, all need this daily trend change. Ape. So Ape's getting attention. Why is Ape getting attention? Well, more people are buying than selling. That's obvious. But what happened recently, for the first time ever, Ape BTC confirmed a daily uptrend. Forever is not a long time, but it's the first time ever. Ape BTC had its big day, and then we set a lower high, lower high, lower high. The daily trend change, look at the volume here, the daily trend change shot things up. And so Ape explodes out of nowhere, but it's the first daily uptrend Ape BTC has ever seen. So now we've got 1740s, a little double top. We did reject from that resistance. Nice hourly equilibrium here. This is one, if you're an active altcoin trader, to be paying attention to. High, low, lower high, higher low, 1557, 1534. We're scouting anything under 1732 as another hourly lower high. If I want to be an aggressive bear, I'm looking for an hourly lower high entry to top fish these resistances and then hoping this chart breaks bear. If I'm looking bull, I'm hoping we set another lower high and then I'm looking for a bull entry to put my stop under the last previous low. Are there any clues in Ape BTC on the hourly? No, they're doing the same thing, but watch it. Watch it for the clues. Actually, we did get a higher high here, so that's one little point in favor of the bulls, but it's very similar. Watch to see if the BTC pairing gives us a break before the US dollar pairing in terms of giving us some clues as to the most likely direction of the break. But we can look at this chart and say Ape volatility is coming within the next 8 hours. Because after 8 hours, you can only get so tight within a chart. And maybe if we see another hour up and then a few hour pull back, we know a break is coming sooner rather than later. If it is a bear break, we will zoom out and scout a 4-hour high or low. And if it's a bull break, we're going to be looking back at limited resistance levels. After 1740, we've got 18 and then not much until all-time highs. Some names are at all-time highs on their, it depends on what exchange you're looking at, but here Binance clearly has previous price history still in play. But a nice hourly equilibrium is shaping up that will bring volatility later today here on the US East Coast. Watch those BTC pairings. NVDA QQQ was the stock example. Thank you. So again, just might as well look at it real quick, comparing them. So NVDA, semiconductor stock, a lot of volatility. Yesterday, 15-minute time frame, we confirmed this bull flag here. Higher low, new high of the day. And NVDA divided by QQQ on the 15-minute time frame failed it. So here is your confirmed 15-minute bull flag with 0 follow through, and here is your failed 15-minute bull flag and downtrend confirming. And that marked the high of the day. Bears had control from that point forward. Clues in the pairings. Let's check out the Bitcoin QQQ chart. BTC divided by QQQ. Very similar, chopping around, not a huge difference over the last few months. That's a decent equilibrium to keep an eye on. Well, it's doing the same thing. It looks exactly like BTC USD. The biggest difference is BTC USD had the higher high here, and this is just a straight up equilibrium. Who's strong? This chart is showing us who is stronger, the NASDAQ or Bitcoin. Bitcoin blew it out of the water on the all-time high run. Then we dropped much harder than the NASDAQ. How this chart breaks, I'm glad I just looked at this because this is going to give me information that I will utilize. If this chart breaks bear, then as someone who has money in stocks and crypto, and I shift my focus from one to the other, if this chart were to break bear, I'm going to focus more on stocks. And if this chart were to break bull, then that means crypto is likely gaining a good bit of strength. But just another one to keep an eye on. All right, I'm reading the chat room now. Appreciate you all giving the likes. Only 64 likes. I think we can get that up to 100. What are you all watching today? What are your questions? Dot. Got to be cautious of monthly bear flag, same as Bitcoin. Daily trend change did confirm, but not much follow through. It's stronger than many other alts, that's for sure. But the daily trend change with 0 follow through is a bit concerning. So I can look at this two different ways. I can look at this and say, this name is stronger than most altcoins. Or I could look at this chart by itself and disregard the entire crypto space and say, well, that's a daily trend change confirmed for the bulls with 0 follow through. That's a bit of a red flag for me. Still a 4-hour uptrend. If we lose the 4-hour uptrend, that daily bull break becomes a lot more concerning. Bull break with no follow through. If we can set a 4-hour high or low and then try and head back up, not as big a deal. Still a 4-hour uptrend. So bulls want to save it to not have that big upper wick form today. BTC long-term 50% drop around Q1 2023. So I don't make predictions. I have no idea what the price of Bitcoin is going to be in a month from now or 6 months from now. There are people out there who use their tools or their proprietary research signals, whatever it is, to try and determine the probabilities of what is going to happen. And you will find that if you watch most of them long enough, they're wrong a lot. I'm wrong a lot as a trader all the time. I react. I do not predict. So if I see something on the daily time frame, anticipating a monthly high or low, that's something I'm going to act on. But guessing what the price is going to be at some point in the future, I mean, you got people on the moon cycles, you got people, just look. It's, in my opinion, if you can consistently do it with a high probability Absolutely. But in my experience over the last 11 years, I find most people are full of it in terms of their confidence. The people who are extremely confident that they know what's going to happen. I mean, just look at what happened when Bitcoin were going to 100,000 and all these influencers are so certain it's going to happen. All of their models are pointing. No, they're guessing and they're wrong. They'll be right sometimes, they'll be wrong sometimes. As a trader, I'm going to be right sometimes and I'm going to be wrong sometimes. But I'm not going to kid myself and think that I can guess what the price is going to be in the future. And more importantly, doing so is cheating myself out of information, because tomorrow I will have more information than today about where Bitcoin's going to be at the end of 2022. And so for me to make a prediction and then disregard all the information that I'm going to be getting one day at a time from here is doing myself a disservice. Why would I lock in a guess and then forego all the new information on a daily basis? So that is how I approach trading. And I feel that that is the better way to approach trading, because otherwise your bias will work out sometimes, but other times it'll get you killed. Thanks, Michael. That means a lot. Anytime someone tells me I changed their life, it's an extra motivation. All right, I'll do this for another 6 months. Dogecoin. Nice equilibrium. This is another one. Again, I don't care if it's a meme coin, whatever. If you give me a tightening range, there's a trade opportunity there. High, low, lower high, higher low. Looks like a lower high might be shaping up, anything under 15 cents. And if that's the case, key support will then be 13.27. The tighter we get, the better in terms of equilibriums. Bears make entries, top fishing off of previous resistances. Bulls make entries, bottom fishing off of previous supports. And if you don't want to do either, you're hoping it gets as tight as possible and then you're playing the break. I personally prefer to trade within the equilibrium to position myself for what I feel is the most likely scenario, because the risk and reward is much better. And you don't get the fake outs where if you buy an equilibrium break and there isn't a lot of follow through and I'm very quickly then underwater, and do I give it time to play out? So just an example of this, I don't trade natural gas often at all, but yesterday we have a monster daily run. So we know we like hourly back burners, right? So monster daily run, first hourly oversold conditions, and we formed a 5-minute extremely tight equilibrium from that point. And so I was watching this equilibrium and I positioned myself with an entry on consolidation. If we lost the 5-minute higher lows, I would have stopped out. We tightened up. I entered with a bullish position because for me, the probability was higher we would break bull than we would break bear, because we were first hourly oversold conditions after a monster daily bull move. So that was utilizing the back burner strategy. It was utilizing experience with equilibriums. But the risk and reward, it would have worked out either way. If you bought the bull break, it was fine. It had follow through. But familiarize yourself with equilibriums because they are everywhere. And they are, again, if you ask me what is one pattern to focus on, it's the equilibrium. It's on every time frame. It comes after volatility. You can trade within them. You can trade the breaks. You can find them all over the place. It's the most common pattern that I see. I've been keeping an eye on AVAX, BTC. It's a weekly equilibrium. I don't think I've ever traded it, but I'm keeping an eye on it. Why? Because we've got an equilibrium. Nice segue. So we're looking for a weekly high or low, anything above 16.9. If I'm looking to be an aggressive bull from a swing trading perspective, it's very important that forms a weekly high or low for me. This tightening weekly range will break middle of this year. If we form another high or low, maybe then one more lower high, next thing you know, we're in June and we'll look for a break around then. And how that breaks, the longer an equilibrium forms, the longer we can expect follow through from the break to last. And if we look at AVAX, USDT, how does it position? We're scouting the weekly higher low, same as everybody else. But the BTC pairing has to break bull there if we're going to be looking at AVAX as a good place to be playing bullish for a weekly higher low, as opposed to another altcoin that may be stronger. So we always want to know where is our money best spent, and the BTC pairing helps show us that. Bitcoin, best trade that I had in Bitcoin in the last 2 years was an equilibrium. And it was this one. The tighter, the better. Higher lows, lower highs, bull break on October 8th, and that kicked off the run to all-time highs. And the only reason I had a solid position for that is because of my comfort playing an equilibrium. Because if I buy that bull break of 10,800 and my stop then goes under 10,500, I'm risking $300. Because if we were to see that bull break and then drop down and break support, red flag. Got to see follow through, and that would be no follow through. And your reward is so much higher than your risk at that point. So on things that I don't have positions in, I want equilibriums. Give me those equilibriums for clarity. Have I seen any wildlife? Yeah, we got a baby duck. First day today. Geese are out. Baby turkeys come later. We'll see if any baby geese show up. All right, trying to catch up here. What do I mean by equilibrium? So an equilibrium is a tightening range of higher lows and lower highs, constricting price action. Generally comes after volatility. Big move up, big move down, scout an equilibrium. Big move down, big move up, scout an equilibrium. Tightening range of higher lows and lower highs. I used to call it the rubber band effect when we first started the chart guys 7 years ago. I called it the rubber band effect because you stretch it tighter, 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 and then it eventually breaks. If you're from Pakistan and looking at stocks, interactive brokers, check into that. That's usually the answer for those in foreign countries. So weekly higher low is set in rune. Bigger picture, that now means for me that these levels must hold. So if we drop down from here and break 718, that's a big red flag. That needs to be the weekly higher low, the back test of EMA support. We confirmed we didn't confirm a daily trend change. We broke the daily lower highs, but just like everybody else, we will need the higher low and higher high here to have confidence in follow through of that weekly higher low. So we're looking for the same thing as everybody else. The difference in most of these names is how much space do we have to form the daily higher low. The bigger the bounce the last 3 days, the more space we have, the higher the probability that a daily higher low will be the result of our next consolidation. And we've also got to be watching, again, we got to be watching QQQ, because if QQQ drops down and breaks the low, that's going to have an impact on crypto, in my opinion. I missed my bear entry. Yep, missed my bear re-entry on QQQ. Hourly lower high set, heading towards the low of the day. Bitcoin doing the same thing. $153 thumbs up. Good one. Thanks, Philip. Shout out to Tommy's wife's boyfriend who told him to buy calls on Netflix. I'm telling you, Netflix is like one to remember. I can't remember the last time any big old company had a 36, almost a 40% drop on one earnings report. RNDR, BTC, there's Bitcoin testing the low, about to confirm the hourly bear flag, increasing probabilities that the top of the bounce is set. RNDR, BTC. Very weak for sure. Daily bear flag, EMA 12 resistance at the lows. That's your ideal scenario as a bear. And you got to use stop losses, of course, because there are many times where a BTC pairing will be in a downtrend forever. I mean, ADA did this. This is why we were interested in ADA, because we finally broke this falling wedge bull. But bears in absolute control for months, and then in 3 or 4 days, complete change. So the moves, you'll have the slow grind bleed forever, and then when that shifts, it's fast and hard, which is why you have to ensure that that stop loss is set. Awesome, Peckham. Glad to hear it. You're welcome, Eve. We did talk about Luna Biro. Cake BTC looks good on the daily. Weekly inside. No, it's a quick little weekly higher low. Trying to be a little weekly bull flag there. So momentum clearly shifting. Weekly higher low set. Have we changed the daily trend change to the bulls? Yeah. So this is definitely one of the stronger altcoins comparative to the peers that we're looking at. And again, just want to ensure that the BTC pairing is doing the same thing or stronger than the US dollar pairing, and it is stronger. And a break at 2268 would be a great sign for the bulls if that level can break. QNT is weak, daily lower high set. So again, this bounce, much weaker than Luna or than DOT. So there's less space for a daily higher low to try and form. We're already under the low of yesterday. Most altcoins are not under their low of yesterday. So without even looking, I know QNT BTC is weak and near its lows. It's at its lows of the last few weeks. So ideally, we want to be bullish in coins where the BTC pairing is showing us strength. And if I'm a bear, I want the BTC pairing to look like this. What's growing in the garden? Hot potato trader. So I just had to cover up. We just got right down to frost last night. And we have risk of frost until Mother's Day. So we got another few weeks. But had to cover up the figs because they just started putting their leaves out. Had to cover up the potatoes. So hopefully that doesn't happen too much more. Other than that, got the peas and carrots going, some beets and greens. I'm going to do a lot more flowers this year. Less work. Stick them in the ground and enjoy them. The pollinators enjoy them. Thanks for the support, Chad. Does QQQ forming 8 inside bars count as an equilibrium? Potentially. Oftentimes, an inside bar means if you zoom in, there's an equilibrium. So if the 5-minute time frame is an equilibrium, you're going to see hourly inside bars. So you just need to zoom in with your microscope, magnifying glass, one of those things. All right, we're wrapping up. Hex for Renee. Renee's been around for a while. We are in a monthly, weekly, and daily downtrend right now, so we're not going to lose sight of that. The only hope for the bulls to shift this momentum is holding 957 and breaking 17.7. Anything less than that and the weekly downtrend continues. So burden on bulls. Got to break 14.3 to confirm a daily trend change. If we do, our weekly higher low is set, and then we need the weekly trend change. Definitely keeping an eye on the cannabis sector. But when I start talking about it consistently, I've popped up with content a few times over the past few months when we get some short-term upside, but I have to see a lot of proving for there to be focus. But when there is focus and when there is opportunity, I will be doing consistent coverage. And that's just a matter of when. It will happen again. But I'm watching it every day, but there's just nothing. There's just nothing. All right, happy 420. Appreciate you all tuning in. Thanks for the likes and subscriptions and shares and all that fun stuff. Forgot to mention, I was going to tie in our free ebook about building a comprehensive trading plan. We put this one out a little while ago, so you may already have seen it. This guy with his wild hair. But my point was going to be establishing your trade game plan right now. Are you looking to buy the daily high or low? Are you waiting for bulls to prove a daily trend change? Are you looking to short this current daily pullback? These are all aspects of, again, pre-establishing a game plan so we don't just sit at the computer and not have any idea what am I doing? Am I looking for a 5-minute oversold bounce? Am I looking to short an hourly low or high? Having some kind of game plan established. For me right now, I'm in very patient mode. So I didn't like getting knocked out of my Ethereum position, but I'm very patiently watching the daily, and I either need extreme oversold conditions, which we aren't anywhere near happening, or bulls proving strength to me on daily time frames. Those two things have to happen for me to get interested as a bull. And if neither of those are happening, then I'm not doing anything. And I don't feel the need to do something because it's very simply laid out. Is this happening? Is this happening? If the answer is no, then I don't do a thing. Establish those game plans. All right, appreciate you all.